Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is a nice crowd, right? Thank you so much for coming here today. My name is Alex Valdez, and I grew up right here in Jamaica Plain. I'm proud to work for the City of Boston's Office of Neighborhood Services. Working for ONS means we're out in the neighborhoods, talking to residents, answering their questions, hearing their concerns, and finding out how they envision their community growing and thriving. It provides us an important perspective on how the work of Mayor Walsh and City Hall affects our family, friends, and neighbors. As City of Boston, this perspective is a critical part of the decision-making and getting our perspectives. This is why we are so excited today to introduce the fiscal year 2019-2023 Imagine Boston Capital Plan. Our capital plan details what initiatives and projects in your neighborhoods, in our neighborhoods, and across Boston that the city will be investing into making our futures brighter. We know that these projects mean so much to family, friends, and neighbors. We hear it every day. A new library, a fresh, healthy school lunches, a fire engine, and a street outreach worker. These investments make positive impact on the daily life of Bostonians in every neighborhood across the city. This brings me to our next speaker, a tireless advocate for our neighborhoods and lifting everyone up in them. Someone who understands that what makes Boston so special, it's its people. And that investing in them and providing more opportunity leads to a better Boston for everyone. It's my pleasure and happy to introduce our mayor, Mayor Martin J. Walsh.
Thanks, Alex. You're awesome. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex. And how about another round of applause for Alex? She's amazing. I want to thank Alex. I want to thank Sam Chambers, who's here, Warren O'Reilly. I want to thank all of our ONS office people that are here today. Office of Neighborhood Services, as you know, the community people that are here know, that's the foundation. That's the front door into City Hall. They're the people that go out to the community meetings and take the heat for something that I might have done, or they go out in the community and they listen to and they help with concerns in the neighborhood. And I just want to thank them. They're incredible young people, and thank them for their great work. I also want to thank a few other people here today. I want to first of all thank all the residents that came here today. You're great. I want to thank our Chief Financial Officer, Emma Handy. This is her first budget as the Chief Financial Officer for the City of Boston. Thank you, Emma, for your great work. Our Budget Director, Justin Sterrett, and his team. Thank you, Justin. Where are you? Right here. Thank you, Justin. Justin's first budget as well. This plan they put together is a fiscally responsible plan, and today we're talking about the capital side of that. I want to thank the Haley House for providing us today with some refreshments. Thank you, Haley House. Thank you, Clubhouse, for helping us today. I want to give a thank to City Councilor Kim Janey. This is her first budget, and she's so effective that we're in her district today, so thank you for being here today. And her mom is here. I want to thank her mother. More importantly, how are you? I want to thank City Councilor Matt O'Malley, who's here with us today. Matt's actually helping me out in a little while. He's going to cover me at Jamaica Pond. He's going to restock the pond, so thank you, Matt, for doing that. I appreciate it. We have many different chiefs of different departments, but I just want to, there's a couple going to speak today. Ron Dorsey, the Chief of Education, who's behind me. Marty Martinez, who's our new Chief of Health and Human Services. He's been with us for 4 months, and he's doing an incredible job. Commissioner Cook from the Parks Department, who's doing incredible stuff. And Sarah Freeman, an advocate for the Arboway Coalition, somebody who I met when I was a state representative, and I want to thank you all for being here with us today. We have David Lemon from the library as well. Thank you, David, and Jerome Smith. So I'm not going to go into everybody. So I'm proud to represent the Imagine Boston 2030 capital budget for fiscal years 2019 to 2030 in the investments that we're going to make in the city of Boston. It represents over $2.4 billion of investments across all of our neighborhoods and all our different communities. 2 weeks ago, we unveiled the city budget for this coming year, $3.29 billion operating budget. In that budget, we put additional money in there for more ambulances and additional police and fire classes, and we did around addiction and opioids and housing and education, the largest education budget in the history of the city. So we're working on it. Today what we're talking about is the capital side, the actual buildings that you see and the parks that you see and the land that we own. These two budgets will work hand in hand to make sure that we're investing in the quality of life for Bostonians. We're also going to make sure that people have economic mobility, something that's really important for us. For 2014, we were the #1 inequality city in the United States of America. We've made investments and we worked with the community, and we're no longer #1, we're #7, which is a good move, but we still got more to go. We want to go down that list. That's a list we want to be at the bottom of. So we're going to continue to work, and we have to do that by making sure the middle class succeeds in every neighborhood and that we strive to get people into the middle class. That's something that we talk about. We often talk about poor people and poor people and poor people in underprivileged neighborhoods. Okay, that's one thing in helping people, but the goal is to get people in communities that might not have the means, get them into the middle class so people can feel good about themselves and their neighborhood and in their communities. This budget is also the product of community planning. In fact, an estimated 84% of this capital plan is aligned with Boston's city-wide planning efforts. That means the stuff that many of you are part of. The city plans and build BPS, building new schools in our city, $1 billion investment over a 10-year period. Go Boston 2030, making sure that we continue to move people around our city, whether it's by bicycles or walking, pedestrian walking or cars, and make public transportation, making sure we move forward. Our housing plan to create more opportunities so people can actually stay and live in the city of Boston. That's a goal of ours. We want to make sure that as we grow a city, people can actually stay in their neighborhoods of Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, and other neighborhoods. Climate Ready Boston, as you saw this year with the snow we had and the rains, we have sea level rise and we've had flooding that we haven't had before in different parts of the city of Boston. So we're working, how do we protect our city? Boston Creates an arts and culture plan, really making sure that we have great museums and institutions in our city, but we have small ones in our neighborhoods. We got to make sure that they have the support, and that's what this plan represents. This plan comes under Imagine Boston 2030. That's our first citywide master plan in over 50 years. The plan's guided by the input of Boston residents and businesses. It's a shared vision for our future. It's not my plan, it's our plan, and that's the difference about this. If you want to see Imagine Boston in action, you don't have to go any further than where we are today, Franklin Park. And it's beautiful. It's a little wet today, a little cold, but it's still beautiful. This park is a historic gem of the Emerald Necklace. A lot of construction is happening right now in this park. We're building new pathways. We're making the entryways accessible to all people. We're excited to continue those renovations, and we're going to continue to move forward. We're also working to achieve one of the city's long-held goals to finally complete the Emerald Necklace and fulfill Frederick Law Olmsted's vision of a beautiful connected green space into the geographical heart of our city. And you know, today is Fred's 196th birthday, and he's with us today. So thank you, Fred, for being with us today. Thank you. You look great for 196. But there's a lot of oh God, thank you. There is a lot of change happening around here. Next to Franklin Park, Harambe Park, which is also going through a $6.2 million renovation with a new playground and pathways and more. If you go up Columbia Road, you'll reach Uppins Corner. The community is going through an exciting transformation. We're building a new library in Uppins Corner. We're renovating streets and intersections. We're establishing an arts innovation district. We're investing along the Fairmont Corridor to spur trans-oriented growth, to create more connections between residents, jobs, and affordable homes. So when the commitment was made to bring the Fairmont line in, it was one thing. Now we have to make sure that Fairmont line benefits the community the way it's supposed to, and it was intended to. In every neighborhood, you'll find similar investments to improve the quality of life for all of our residents. The most important investments we're making as a city today is investing in our people of our city. They are our greatest asset, and we'll continue to invest what's best for the people as we continue to grow. We strongly believe that Boston is a city that is world class because it's got a middle class that's welcome to everybody. That's why we're proud, again, to invest in, once again, helping areas that matter the most for Bostonians, to help them achieve a strong place for the middle class. We're going to invest in education and housing and transportation, in public health and arts and culture and climate ready. We're bringing new kitchens to our Boston Public School systems. We're renovating libraries, and we're making complete streets. These investments will illustrate what it really means and what this budget really means, the impact on Bostonians on a daily basis. One of those goals is making sure that all of our schools are fit for the 21st century. It's 2018. Our kids are growing up and learning in schools that were built before World War II. We're continuing the historic $1 billion investment in the Boston Public Schools over the next 10 years. When I talked about kitchens, we're upgrading 25 of our kitchens through Boston's My Way Cafe, which will increase healthy ways for freshly prepared food. We had a pilot program that was going on in East Boston that was working successfully, and we're taking that across the city of Boston. We're also investing in critical upgrades into infrastructure like new facilities in our schools, new windows in our schools, new locker rooms in our schools, accessibility improvement in our schools. Another major focus on investment is transportation. We're investing nearly $1 billion to further implement Go Boston 2030. That means modern bridges and infrastructure, safe and accessible roads and roadways. We're implementing complete streets designed for our roads that benefit everyone who uses them. Whether you're a pedestrian walking down the street or a runner running down the street, or you're taking the MBTA or you're taking the ride, the buses. Whether you ride a bicycle to work or you drive a car to work. We're investing in ways to improve safety on our roads to get to zero fatalities, something that's really important, zero traffic fatalities. We're also investing in our community resilience in our neighborhood. Through Climate Ready Boston, we're preparing for sea level rise and developing a plan to increase our ability to withstand storm surge and floods. Whether that means deploying flood walls or smart development along the waterfront, we want to make sure that Boston is prepared for the inevitable effects of climate change. We're also making investments to protect public health communities. That means access for residents to health services they need and depend upon. Something that we're seeing the scourge of drugs. We've actually seen the scourge of drugs for the last 35 years in our city, and alcohol. And we're working to make sure that we provide the tools and the programs that are needed in all of our communities and all of our neighborhoods to be able to fight that back and help. We're investing in an additional $80 million, which totals 92 total through this capital plan to rebuild the Long Island Bridge. Our goal is to establish a long-term recovery campus on Long Island. Our goal is to work with the people of Squantum and work with the people of Quincy to make sure that we all understand, because the people that we're going to be living out there and getting into recovery are going to be people from all over Boston and all over Massachusetts. That's not just a Boston-based program. It will be a statewide program that we're going to put on the islands. I invite you all to explore the budget, both the operating and capital, on our budget.boston.gov webpage. And now I'll take some questions at the end, but now it's my honor to introduce, we're going to go into a little more, the Chief of Education in the City of Boston, who's done an incredible job, Chief Ron Dorsey.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, that was robust. Thank you. It's good to be here with with the citizens of Boston and my colleagues in government on this spring-ish day, much better than we've had over the past months, and certainly in one of Boston's most spectacular open spaces. I'm here to talk about our investment in schools. And so schools are the ultimate investment in our city's future. Along with the biggest operating budget in Boston Public Schools history, this capital plan allows us to create modern learning environments that unlock the amazing potential of all of Boston's young people. It also reflects Mayor Walsh's 10-year, $1 billion commitment to upgrading school buildings through the Build BPS initiative. We're not just talking about buildings, but we are talking about creating 21st century learning spaces. These investments are about creating flexible, technology-ready, comfortable, and safe spaces that support all types of learning and honor our students, educators, and communities. Among the highlights in this year's capital budget are the development of a new Boston Arts Academy that will support the school's dual arts and academic mission through a $125 million partnership with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. Yes, please clap for that. We're going to build more accessible and nurturing facilities that meet the needs of every student, especially our most vulnerable students. Specifically, we plan to complete accessibility renovations at the Henderson Inclusion Upper School, to rebuild the bridge and walkway that connects the two Curley K-8 schools and to renovate the locker rooms at Brighton High School. These renovations will total roughly $7.5 million. We're focusing on child wellness and creating healthy spaces with fresh air and sunlight. We'll invest just over $9 million to replace windows at the Henderson Inclusion Lower School, as well as the Horace Mann and Jackson Mann schools. We will also make improvements to the Sumner schoolyard. We're finding new ways to make sure students are ready to learn every day by addressing food and nutrition needs, as the mayor indicated. Specifically, we're upgrading 25 kitchens at schools across the city through Build BPS and the My Way Cafe program that was sponsored by the Shaw Family Foundation. This investment will enable us to launch an innovative fresh food program in the fall of 2018 through which healthy meals will be prepared on site, as piloted in East Boston. By focusing on areas of the city and students with the greatest need, and by using the best design practices, we're setting our students up for success. These are some of the most powerful investments that we can make, and we look forward to making these investments in our children's, in our city's future. So thank you, and I now want to introduce our Chief of Health and Human Services, Chief Marty Martinez.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
See, that was more robust. Thank you for that. I know I'm in the right crowd when I hear someone say healthy food and food access for young people and I hear an amen. I know this is my crowd. So I appreciate that. Again, as the Chief of Health and Human Services, I'm here helping as part of the administration to lead our Health and Human Services work, the work that I think is part of the most important work that happens in city government. And I can think of no better way to invest in our neighborhoods and in our communities than to think about investing in the resources of our Boston Centers for Youth and Families. These Centers for Youth and Families, which are in every neighborhood across the city and every corner, are providing incredibly important services and resources to young people, families, elderly, seniors. They're providing resources that are critical in our community. So to see the investment not only in our operating budget, but in our capital budget, we see a true commitment to these centers. I'm not really a numbers guy. I'm really a human service, social service kind of guy. But numbers matter when it's talking about investing in these communities. This capital budget means a $2.96 million investment for improvements to the Gallivan Community Center, including replacement for the roof, the gym floor, providing air conditioning in the gymnasium, improving safety systems so our youth have a better facility to spend their time after school, and to facilitate more robust programming. Let's hear that for the Gallivan Community Center. Another example, it means almost $2 million in investment for interior renovations for the Mattahunt Community Center, to refurbish the lobby, the gym, the community room, the computer lab, so that we continue great programming offered to youth and provide better facilities so that individuals can access a computer at home who can't can access it at the community center. We're talking about other investments in other centers, including the Parish Street Pool, looking at the North End Community Center, and we're making sure that the resources that exist in these capital investments help to give all young people and all citizens equal access to high-quality facilities that will help them have high-quality programming. You should not only have access to a facility that's great because it's in your neighborhood, you should have access to great facilities because it's in every neighborhood. We're excited from a Health and Human Services component that we see these investments in BCYF, and we're excited to continue to see the great programming that will come from these investments, not only in this budget, but ongoing through our capital budget. Now it gives me privilege to bring up Commissioner Cook to talk about some other investments that we see in the budget.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you so much, Marty. How about Franklin Park? Is there a more beautiful place to celebrate Olmsted's birthday? Olmsted, thank you very much for joining us. Also, thank you very much for building this extraordinary space, and it gives me great pleasure to talk about some of the investments. This is an extraordinary parks budget. And when we look at Imagine Boston, I think they should change the name. We should steal it from Walt Disney. We're now the Imagineers, right? Because we went through the Imagine part of it, and now we're building this stuff. This is all the stuff that the community said that they wanted and that they needed. And with the technical expertise guided by the folks at Imagine Boston, we now have constructible projects that is going to change this city for the better. So I just want to talk a little bit about the lens that we approach at the Parks Department, how to move along some of these Imagine Boston projects. But first, I have to thank the people who actually take care of this park every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for the Franklin Park crew. Who, along with Franklin Park Coalition and Emerald Necklace Conservancy, are out here every single day taking care of this extraordinary space. We're very grateful to them. And we're also joined by our Horticulture Division, our General Superintendent, Greg Mossman. So thank you to all those folks for everything that they do. When we look at Imagine Boston, we look at it through the lens of parks first. Not that parks are more important, but the parks are one of the first opportunities we have as a city to address issues around access, equity, and excellence. So when we look at access, you don't have to look farther than this project right here. This project right here, because as you go down this road and you get to our maintenance yard, that's currently how we access our maintenance yard. So it's not unusual to have a traffic count of 200, 300 vehicles going through what Olmsted meant to be pedestrian pathways. And so what's going to happen with this project right here, this construction fencing, is if you go down to the Scarborough Bridge, this project is closing that to vehicular traffic forever. We're going to be entering the yard on the other side of the park. And so one of the most iconic Olmsted designs in his entire portfolio will be given back to the people of Franklin Park. That's the work of Imagine Boston. That's the access work. And when you think about access, you have to make sure. We currently enjoy a great statistic. The Trust for Public Land is here today. 98% of our Bostonians live within a walk to a park. But that's not 100%, and the mayor wants 100%. And so we're now looking at neighborhoods where we don't have 100% of our people with access to a quality park. And so then you look at neighborhoods like Mattapan, and you look at the opportunity that we have with the Stephen Odom Serenity Garden. We're going to build a new park space, and we're going to take an opportunity where a family went through a terrific tragedy, and instead it's going to be a beautiful open space to celebrate a life. That's the work of Imagine Boston. That is when a community works with planners, and then the Parks Department gets to build things. That's how extraordinary that opportunity is. That's how we make sure that people have access. When we look at equity, we, through Imagine Boston, came up with a ranking system for all of our parks. And where we found that we didn't score very highly, we worked with the extraordinary people at the budget department to make strategic investments so that we could raise the quality ranking of those parks. And that is the only reason, because of the work of Imagine Boston, that we are making strategic investments at places like Holborn Street and Buford Street to renovate those tot lots in Roxbury. So we are very, very grateful to make those investments. That's the equity. And then when we talk about excellence, we have an amazing opportunity because we have a mayor and we have a city council that really, really values open space, and we can make historic investments. In this plan right here, there's a master plan, $800,000 master plan to guide the work of the $28 million investment coming from Winthrop Square. That is going to fundamentally change Franklin Park for the better forever. In addition, that work will be guided by the Franklin Park Coalition and the Emerald Necklace Conservancy. The same thing is true with the Boston Common. This plan has a master plan for Boston Common so we can take the best excellence in design across the country and make sure that our two most significant parks, our largest, most valuable natural resource area, Franklin Park, and America's first park, Boston Common, are second to none in the nation. That's the work of Imagine Boston. That's the work of this capital plan. And it only works because of partnerships. So not only do we have partnerships with our park partners, but we also have partnerships in city government. And if we didn't, we wouldn't have the extraordinary opportunity to close the gap that is the fundamental closing of the Emerald Necklace. We have an opportunity to green Columbia Road, and we have an opportunity to make sure that when you get to the end of Columbia Road, you get to a place that's called Moakley Park. It's what this guy always intended would be the end of the Emerald Necklace, and it's an extraordinary opportunity, and we're working with lots of partners there. Boston Harbor Now, the Trust for Public Land, the Boston Society of Landscape Architects. Moakley Park will not only be a resource on the water, but it'll also be a resource that protects the neighborhoods of South Boston. And when combined with the work that Austin Blackman's shop and Greenovate is doing, combined with the work that we're looking at with 4 Point Channel, we're protecting multiple neighborhoods while adding a great park amenity to the waterfront. So ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to support this capital budget, and I'm very, very grateful to the mayor for the development of it. Thank you. I got a little carried away, and I apologize for that. I get excited. These are big numbers. One of the reasons that these budgets manifest is because of the community advocacy. Early on, I met somebody who told me the importance of not just designing great parks, but making sure that those parks were connected. because if people can't get to an extraordinary park, the park doesn't have the same value. She's a community activist, and she's changed the way I look at open space. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Jamaica Plain resident, Sarah Freeman.
Hi, everyone. I love parks, and I'll try in a few words to explain why. And part of it is all of you sitting here. I hope every one of you is among the people who use them and care about them too. Every tree, path, lamppost, bench, stone wall, waterway, field, they're all important contributors to our experiences in these places we love. Parks are our common ground. They bring us all together. And urban parks are especially important as places where we can escape the hustle and bustle of the city and experience nature, regardless of our circumstances in life. Some of our happiest times are in parks: walking, jogging, taking a lunch break, biking, time with a friend, or time alone, yoga, baseball, picnics, and more. It's an honor to be here in Franklin Park, the crown jewel of the Emerald Necklace, the linear park designed by Frederick Law Olmsted. Happy 196th. He designed many of America's most well-known parks and landscapes, and he recognized the healing power of nature. That need is as important now as it was in the late 1800s for our physical health, mental health, and environmental health. Parks are wonderful multitaskers. They absorb stormwater and help with flood control. The trees help to clean the air and create cool shade in the summer, helping with climate change. They provide habitat for wildlife, all while providing wonderful places to visit and enjoy. It's easy to take parks for granted. They just seem like they've always been there. But it takes a lot of work to create these parks. The planning, the construction, paths, playgrounds, a lot of work goes into that. And I won't even go into maintenance because that's another budget. But important work is in progress locally and regionally to connect these parks, as Commissioner Cook said, with each other through greenways and expanding from your local park to make a meaningful network. It can be transportation, it can be recreation. As the Emerald Necklace, I don't know how many, but I would guess not many of you have gone from Boston Common out here in Franklin Park experiencing the whole linear park. We hope to make it safe for you to do that. Let's see, this administration has been very supportive of parks, so thank you very much. There's still a lot of catching up to do, so don't be too surprised if we keep asking for more. Thank you to everyone who has helped care for these parks, and I recognize a lot of friends who I wouldn't have otherwise met if not for our advocacy and volunteering in these parks. So looking forward to next steps under our able commissioner and staff and continue the progress. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you very much. Let me just give a couple of shout outs here. I want to thank Imagine Boston 2030 has been worked on for a long time, and Natalia Urtubey is here. Thank you, Natalia, for that. Julie Barros, the chief of our Arts and Culture Cabinet, is here. Thank you, Julie. I know Julie's happy. Christine Poff, no stranger to anyone. She's in charge of CPA, so go see her. Looking for money. Thank you, Christine. I know we have Austin Blackman from the Chief of Environment here with us. Joyce Lenahan, Chief of Policies, with us. Joe Finn, the Commissioner of the Boston Fire Department, is with us. Chief Hooley, the head of EMS, is with us. I'm trying to think. I think David Sweeney here, Chief of Staff. Thank you, Dave Sweeney, for your great work as well. We have a whole bunch of other people here as well, so I shouldn't have gotten into that. I'm in trouble. Now, last year was the first time that we ever did this. We brought the the capital budget announcements out to the community, and we went to East Boston with that. Sal Martina was the state city council at the time. It was his last year, and we talked about investments not just in his district, across the city, and it was well received because the community loved it. And today we're here in Roxbury, and Kim Janey is your city councilor. And Kim has been an incredible partner advocating on behalf of her constituents long before she was a city councilor, but she's done an incredible job in the first 4 months of being a city councilor, and she's in the midst of the budget right now. So it's an honor for me to bring up to you City Councilor Kim Janey.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. First, I just want to say thank you to Sarah for those wonderful remarks and reminding us why parks are so amazing and so important. I also have to say thank you to Mayor Marty Walsh for all of your work, for your investment throughout our city in terms of this capital plan, but particularly in District 7. I want to acknowledge and thank the members of your team, all the people who spoke this morning, as well as Emma. I'm very grateful for all the work that you do. Want to say thank you to the Franklin Park Coalition for being here and all the work that you do. Please give them a round of applause. I also have to acknowledge and just extend my deep appreciation to all of the residents who are here for your advocacy, for your commitment to our city, to your neighborhoods, particularly our seniors. Thank you so much for being here. Yes. And I love all of my seniors, but there's one senior in particular who I love above all else, and that is my mom, who is here. Please give my mom a warm welcome. And I have to acknowledge my mom because my mom is the one who really taught me the importance of green space, of respecting nature, of appreciating our trees and flowers. She's the one who inspired me to plant a garden. And so as we stand here in the crown jewel, Franklin Park, which I'm so proud to have in my district, I just have to say thank you to my mom for giving me that appreciation. And again, thank you to the mayor for the investments that we're going to see in Franklin Park and parks all throughout our city that will make our neighborhoods great. There are three things I think that are important to highlight in terms of this capital plan. That is our parks, our libraries, and schools. Those are the things that I want to touch upon. And so I'm so thrilled and excited about the investment that is happening, not just in Franklin Park, but in parks all throughout our neighborhoods. So thank you, Mayor Walsh, for that. In addition, my mother taught me the importance of libraries. When I was a young girl, after school, I went to the David A. Ellis School in Roxbury. Every day after school, I had to walk to the library, and that's where I would wait for my parents to pick me up. And I was so excited when I got my first library card. I felt so important. I felt like, you know, I was a grown-up to have my first library card as a little 7-year-old girl. And my mom taught me that, and she's teaching that to every generation in our family. She is an avid reader. She has a book with her now. I'm sure she was reading earlier before the program started. And so to see the investment in our libraries, particularly, I will just highlight a couple in my district. The design that is happening in terms of the improvements to the South End Library, so grateful to see that. And then the renovations to the Dudley Branch Library, which is much needed. And that is just a centerpiece to the Roxbury community. And so I'm very grateful to see that investment. The last thing that I would say about my mom and why she has been so important in terms of my own appreciation for things is her understanding of how important education is. So many people know the work that I've done in education before being elected to the Boston City Council. I'm born into a family of educators. My mom has taught, my father was a teacher. My sister currently teaches, and to see the investment in our school buildings, very much needed. In my district, in my neighborhood where I live, the Dearborn School, it's one of the first places that I wanted to go visit, one of the first schools that I went to go visit as a Boston City Councilor, and to see that now we will have a state-of-the-art STEM academy for our children in our community, that is just amazing. And so these are the things that make our neighborhood strong, our schools, our parks, our green spaces, our libraries. Exactly. And these are all of the things that are important to our children. Important to our children, but to residents across the city. And so I'm just thrilled about this budget and what it means, not just for District 7, so proud to represent Roxbury, South End, Dorchester, and Fenway, but for the entire city. So I won't go on much longer. I know people have questions. Again, I just thank you for being here, and thank you for your continued advocacy to make sure that we are doing the work that we need to do to make Boston a better place for all of us. I will continue with my commitment as the budget season progresses by making sure that we continue to see these investments throughout the budget hearing process. So thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I also want to introduce Pat Baroffi, Chief of Operations for the City of Boston, Renee Fielding, Chief of Emergency Management for the City of Boston. I think Sheila Dillon's here, Chief of Housing. If she's not, she deserves a shout out anyway. She does incredible stuff. The last thing I have to say here today is that some of these alarms going off, but I have another thing. On your way out, the Parks Department has flowers for everybody, so make sure you grab some flowers on the way out this way. Thank you, Chris, and the men and women in the Parks Department. Thank you for all the great work you do. I think I'm doing questions over there. We're doing questions here or there? All right, we're going to do questions over there, so thank you. For the press.